You can close your eyes now or whenever you feel ready and just listen to the sound of my voice. Allow it to clear a soft path for you, a path that leads not to a story but to the memory of a peaceful world, a world bathed in a sun that is not the sun of Egypt. There is nothing for you to do here but breathe and allow these words to be a gentle companion as you begin to drift. And as you settle in just one gentle thought, if this space feels like a comfort to you, you might consider a soft tap on the like or subscribe button. But only if that thought feels as effortless as a quiet breath. Perhaps you might even whisper in the comments where you are listening from and what time it is in your corner of the world. It's a nice thought knowing we are all finding this quiet place together from different parts of the night. So let the silence deepen around you, perhaps feeling the cool air on your skin as we quietly cross the threshold, not into Egypt just yet but into the memory of home. Before the Nile there was your river. It was to God like theirs. It was just a ribbon of silver water that tumbled out of the green hills, cool and clear. You are sitting on a low stone wall that surrounds your father's house, the afternoon sun warming the limestone beneath your hands. This is the land of Retjenu, a name the Egyptians use. You just call it home. The air doesn't smell of silt and lotus flowers here. It smells of dust and thyme crushed underfoot and the sharp, clean scent of the olive groves that blanket the slopes around your town. You trace the patterns carved into the stone, a looping design your brother etched here last summer. Your dress is simple, woven from the wool of your family's own sheep, dyed a deep blue with a pigment traded from the coast. Your fingers are stained with that same blue. You are a good weaver. It's a quiet skill, a patient skill, turning thread into story line by line. From here you can see the whole valley. The terraced fields climbing the hillsides, the dark green smudges of cedar trees on the highest ridges. Your father often jokes that those very trees will one day end up as the mast of a pharaoh's ship. The Egyptians love your cedar wood. They trade for it, constantly sending back beads of fine linen and sometimes, if the deal is good, a little gold. This connection to the great southern kingdom is a part of life, a distant hum, like the buzzing of bees in the lavender bushes. It is a thing of commerce, of caravans and contracts, not of chariots on fear. You lift a small polished copper mirror to your face. It's one of those trade goods, a little luxury. You examine your eyes rimmed with the dark powder called kohl. Here you grind it yourself from a dark grey stone, mixing it with a little oil to make a paste. It's not just for beauty. Everyone says it keeps the sun's glare from your eyes and wards off flies. It's a simple daily ritual, a moment that belongs only to you. A free woman's choice. In the courtyard below, your father is speaking with other elders. He is the chief of this town, a small kingdom. His voice is a low rumbler sound, as familiar and comforting as the wind in the olive trees. They are discussing the harvest, the price of oil, and the endless complicated dance of allegiance. Historians, thousands of years from now, will argue endlessly about the true nature of these city-states. Were you subjects of the great Hittite Empire to the north, or did you pay tribute to the ever-present shadow of Egypt in the south? The truth, as it always is far messier. A web of treaties, threats and marriages holds the world together. But for you sitting on this wall, the only power that truly matters is the sound of your father's voice, the certainty of his presence. You lower the copper mirror, your reflection disappearing. You don't need it to know who you are. You are the daughter of this house, the weaver of blue thread, a creature of this specific sun-warmed stone and this thyme-scented air. Your name is known here. Your face is love. A sudden quiet falls over the valley. The birds which had been chattering in the groves go silent. You look up at the sky, expecting clouds, but it is a harsh and ending blue. Then you feel it more than hear it at first. A low rhythmic vibration that is not thunder. It is the sound of 1,000 heartbeats, the sound of a purpose that is not your own, moving with terrible speed across the land. The distant hum of Egypt is no longer distant. It is roaring. The stone wall hums against your palms, a deep thrumming that seems to rise from the very bones of the earth. Your father is on his feet now, his hand shading his eyes as he stares at the same point on the horizon that holds you frozen. The low vibration solidifies into a sound, a rhythmic clattering roar that swallows the valley's sudden silence. It's the sound of 100 workshops, 1,000 hammers, all moving but the industry of breaking things. And then you see it. A low brown cloud unspooling along the valley floor, a dust storm not born of wind but of purpose. It moves with an unnatural speed, and from its churning heart something glints. A flash of gold. Then another and another. It's the sun catching on the bronze scales of armor, on the polished hubs of wheels, on the terrible sharp tips of countless spears. The chariots emerge from the dust first. They are not the heavy creaking carts your people used to haul grain. They are impossibly light, elegant instruments of speed. Each is a crescent of bent wooden taut leather pulled by two perfectly matched horses, their manes braided with colored linen. They seem to float over the uneven ground, a terrifying ballet of power and precision. In each chariot a man. The driver, reins wrapped around his waist, his body a living part of the machine. Beside him an archer, his powerful bow already in hand, a quiver bristling with arrows on his back. They move not as a disorderly crowd, but as a single entity, a flock of deadly birds skimming the earth. This wasn't on any trade manifest. This isn't an exchange of cedar for gold. This is something else entirely. This is the collection of a debt you never knew you owed. Behind them the dust cloud parts to reveal the river that was pushing it forward, the infantry. An endless column of men marching with a discipline that is chilling to watch. Their hide shields painted with symbols you don't recognize are held at a uniform height. Their bronze-tipped spears are a forest of menacing points. They are not dressed in the very colorful wool of your people. They wear simple white linen kilts, their torsos bare and hardened by the sun. They are an army, but they move with the ability of a natural disaster, like a flood or a swarm of locusts. A single panicked horn blows from your town's small watchtower. It sounds thin and pathetic against the growing roar of the Egyptian advance. You see men scrambling from their homes, your brother among them, pulling on leather armor, grabbing for the short swords and hunting spears that are your only defense. They are brave. They are hopelessly, tragically outmatched. You see your father, the chief, shouting orders, trying to form a line, trying to impose the old logic of honor and courage onto a scene that has no logic at all. He is trying to build a dam of sand against a tidal wave. The chariots don't charge the walls. They are too clever for that. They begin to circle the town, a whirlwind of wood and bronze, staying just out of the range of your people's crude slings. It's a display of power, a psychological assault. Historians will one day debate the precise tactical role of the chariot corps, whether they were truly effective against fortified towns or were simply weapons of terror for the open field. But as you watch them, a graceful tightening noose of death, the distinction feels entirely academic. The terror is tactical enough. You learn a strange and useless fact in this moment up close. The famous Egyptian war chariot looks surprisingly fragile. You can see the seams in the leather, the way the light frame flexes with every bump. They are built for speed, not for impact. It's a detail your mind latches onto, a small absurd piece of information in a world that is rapidly losing all meaning. Then a gesture. A single chariot, perhaps bearing a commander, raises a colored flag. The circling stops. The archers in perfect unison raise their bows. They pull back the strings, 100 arms moving as one. The sun catches the arrowheads, turning them into a constellation of deadly new stars. You have a moment, a single suspended heartbeat, to look at the world you have always known. The stone wall. The olive groves. The familiar doorways. Everything is exactly as it was 5 minutes ago, and yet everything is gone. The air fills with a sound like tearing fabric, the collective hiss of 1,000 arrows leaving their bows. You don't watch them land. You press yourself against the stone, the scent of thyme from the cracks filling your nose, a scent of a life that is already a memory. The thuds and cries from the town below are the only confirmation you need. The roaring of the great southern kingdom has arrived at your door, and it is asking to be let in. The air, once filled with the shriek of arrows, is now thick with a different sound, the crisp, foreign syllables of the Egyptian tongue. It's a language of command, of clipped, efficient orders that slice through the stunned silence. The smell of thyme from the stone wall is gone, replaced by the bitter scent of smoke from a dozen smoldering roofs. Your father's house is burning. A hand, firm but impersonal, grips your arm and pulls you to your feet. The soldier who owns the hand is young, his face smooth and unlined, dusted with the fine powder of the valley floor. He doesn't look at you with hatred or even anger. He looks at you the way a farmer looks at a sheep, or a potter looks at a sheep, or a potter looks at a sheep, or a potter looks at a lump of clay. You are a task to be completed. His detachment is 1,000 times more chilling than any rage. Your hands are pulled behind your back, and a rope is looped around your wrists. It's not the soft wool you are used to. It's a coarse bristly cord made of palm fiber that immediately begins to chafe your skin. You are pulled into a line with the other survivors, mostly women and children. Your brother is not among them. Your father is not among them. Your father is not among them. The men who stood to fight on the ground your people will not be allowed to bury. You see a man with a wooden pallet and a reed brush moving down the line. A scribe. He makes a quick mark for each of you, his lips moving silently. This is not chaos. This is accounting. You are now a number on a ledger, a piece of state inventory. Pharaohs will later carve these numbers into the stone walls of their temples, boasting of the tribute and captives brought back from their glorious campaigns. Living prisoners 1,200, a future inscription might read. You have just become a single stroke in that tally. The long march south begins. You are tied to the woman in front of you, a weaver from the next street whose name you know but cannot bring yourself to say. The line of captives is a long shambling serpent of misery guarded on both sides by the effortlessly marching soldiers. They seem immune to the heat, to the sharp stones that are already cutting through your soft leather shoes. They are professionals. This is what they do. The journey erases the world you knew, one painful step at a time. First you leave the olive groves behind. Then the familiar shape of the high ridge with its crown of cedars disappears from the horizon. The landscape becomes harsher, redder. The soft earth of your valley gives way to rock and that burns through your ruined shoes. You learn a new rhythm, the rhythm of endless, shuffling motion. You learn the true nature of thirst, a dry, rasping weight in the back of your throat that no amount of swallowing can dislodge. Water is given but sparingly from large clay jars carried by dedicated water bearers. It is warm and tastes of clay, and it is never enough. You are something new now, a creature you have no word for. You are not a guest, not a trader, not a prisoner who will one day be ransomed. You are cargo. Historians in their quiet, comfortable libraries will debate the precise legal status of people like you at this exact moment. Were you officially designated as a slave ahem the moment the rope touched your wrists, or did that formal reclassification happen later within the borders of Egypt itself? It's a fascinating point of administrative law for them. For you whose wrists are raw and bleeding from the palm fiber rope, the distinction is meaningless. The rope is the only definition you need. A strange and terrible little detail lodges in your mind. The Egyptians have brought their own bread. At the evening halt, each captive is given a small, hard, flat disk of it. It's gritty with sand and tastes of nothing. It is the taste of efficiency. They planned for this. They calculated the number of soldiers, the number of arrows, and the number of arrows, and the number of rations needed to feed their future property. Your capture was not an accident of war. It was an objective on a checklist. As the sun sets, casting long, monstrous shadows, the army makes camp. You are herded into a roped-off enclosure like headstock. You huddle together against the cooling air, a silent mass of shared despair. You look up and see the stars. They are the same stars you have always known, but they seem colder now, farther away. They are looking down on a stranger. After weeks that blur into a single sun-scorched memory, the world changes. The red desert gives way to a startling, impossible green. You smell it before you see it, the rich, damp scent of wet earth of life. This is the Nile. The great river is a sluggish brown god wider than any river you have ever imagined, flanked by a carpet of emerald fields. It is beautiful, and it is the most menacing thing you have ever seen. You have arrived in the belly of the beast. The destination is a city the Egyptians call Wazet. To the rest of the world it is Thebes. It does not appear on the horizon as a town. It announces itself with stone. To colossal statues of a seated pharaoh, so large they seem to hold up the sky, mark the approach. Beyond them the pylons of the great temples rise like sheer cliffs, the clairs are coverings of gods and kings. Obelisks, single needles of pink granite, pierce the clouds, their tips sheathed in electrum that glitter under the sun. Your father's house, the largest building you had ever known, could fit inside the shadow of one of these gates. The sheer scale of it is an act of intimidation. It is a city built to make you feel small. The day of the parade you are treated with a strange new kind of care. You are scrubbed clean in the river, the rough hands of a guard scraping away the weeks of grime. Your hair is combed and your skin is rubbed with a cheap, rancid-smelling oil that makes you gleam in the sun. It is not an act of kindness. It is the polishing of a trophy. And then you are marched into the city. The roar hits you first, a physical wall of sound from 1,000 throats, 100,000. The streets are lined with people, a river of humanity held back by the same soldiers who have guarded you for weeks. They are cheering. Cheering for the army, for the Pharaoh, and for the spectacle of your humiliation. They throw flowers not at you but at the soldiers marching ahead. The air is thick with the scent of those flowers mixed with incense, roasting meat, and the sweat of the massive crowd. Your captors have arranged you for maximum effect. You are forced to walk with your head bowed, your hands still bound. But you catch glimpses. You see the other spoils of war. Carts piled high with your people's possessions, finely carved wooden chests, bolts of your distinctive blue-dyed wool, even the bronze tools from your father's workshop. They are all being paraded as exotic treasures. You are not the only human tribute. Ahead of you is a group of captives from the south, from the land of Nubia. Their skin is the color of polished ebony, and they wear intricate beadwork that has been torn and broken. Behind you are Libyans from the west, their long beards matted with dust, their fair skin burned raw by the sun. It's a strange and useless bit of knowledge to acquire in this moment, but you realize this is a routine. Your land was just this season's target. The Egyptian war machine is a hungry beast, and it feeds from all directions. The soldiers march in their finest attire, their linen kilts bleached bone white, their painted shields gleaming. They wear fresh floral collars around their necks. They look proud, triumphant. You see the young soldier who first captured you. His face is clean now, and he is smiling for the crowd, a practiced public smile. Historians will argue for centuries about the primary purpose of these grand victory parades. Was this spectacle a religious ceremony, an offering of thanks to the war god Amun-Ra for his favor? Was it pure political propaganda, a way for the pharaoh to awe his people, or was it simply the most grandiose piece of bureaucratic accounting in history, a public declaration of the empire's latest profits, standing there a single and willing item in the long inventory of conquest? It feels like all three at once. The procession snakes through the city, finally coming to a halt before the towering gates of the great temple of Amun-Karnak. There on a raised dais sits the pharaoh. He is not a man. He is a golden icon, immobile, his face a mask of divine indifference. The commanders of the army approach and bow, presenting the lists of tribute, the tally of the captured and the slain. The scribe's marks on his wooden pallet have now been transferred to a formal papyrus scroll, a document that will be stored in an archive for eternity. The crowd roars its approval. The pharaoh gives a slight, almost imperceptible nod. You are officially received. A spoil of glorious war delivered and signed for. The great public ceremony is over. Now the private transactions can begin. The golden splendor of the temple facade shrinks behind you, and the cheering of the crowd fades into a distant memory as if it happened a lifetime ago. You are not taken to a prison or a barracks. You are herded along with the other chosen captives into a large sun-baked courtyard enclosed by high mud brick walls. The air here is still and suffocating. The grand public spectacle is over. The private, unceremonious business of distribution has begun. There is no cheering here. The only sounds are the low murmur of men's voices speaking that sharp, confident language, the scuff of sandals on packed earth, and the buzzing of flies. These are men in fine pleated linen kilts, their shaved heads gleaming. Some wear elaborate wigs and heavy jeweled collars. They are officials, priests, army scribes, the managers of the great estates. They are here to collect their share of the spoils. In the center of the courtyard is a low wooden platform no higher than your knee. It is scarred and stained from use. This is where the accounting becomes personal. You watch as the woman who was tied in front of you on the march, the weaver from the next street, is shoved forward. An official with a papyrus scroll calls out something, and she is pushed onto the platform. She stands there blinking in the harsh sunlight. The men don't rush. They walk around the platform slowly, their arms crossed. They look at her hands, noting the weaver's calusas. They look at her teeth, a gesture of appraisal so intimate it feels like a violation even from a distance. They are assessing her utility, her strength for labor, her health for breeding, her potential for service. A negotiation begins. It's a quiet affair, a series of nods and short phrases. One of the officials, a portly man with tired eyes, seems to be in charge of the transaction. Another man, clearly the buyer, makes an offer. There is no clinking of coins. That form of money is a simple thing for a future time. His value is more tangible. A scribe brings out a small, delicate set of bronze scales. The price is agreed upon not in currency but in weight. Coils of silver wire and heavy rings of copper are placed on one side of the scale, balanced against a series of small polished stones carved in the shapes of animals. These are the deben and the shat, the units of weight by which everything from a sack of grain to a human life can be measured. Scholars will argue for centuries about the nature of this transaction and the life that followed it. They will dissect legal texts, searching for evidence that slaves in Egypt had certain rights, that they could own property or marry, or even work their way to freedom. They search for a sliver of humanity in the cold calculus of the system. But standing here watching the scales tip, the future debates of academics feel like a cruel joke. The only law that matters is the weight of the metal. The only right that exists is the right of the man who can tip that scale in his favor. The scale balances. The portly official makes a mark on his scroll. The weaver is pulled from the platform and handed over to her new owner like a purchased jug of wine. Her story, which was briefly tied to yours, now veers off onto a path you will never see. Then a hand shoves your back. It is your turn. The wood of the platform is hot and rough beneath your bare feet. You keep your eyes fixed on a crack in the mud brick wall opposite you, focusing on its jagged line, making it the entire world. But you can feel the eyes on you. They are not looking at your face. They are scanning your body, your limbs, your back. You feel a strange sense of detachment, as if you are floating somewhere above, watching this happen to a girl who looks like you. A man walks up onto the platform with you. He is not one of the buyers. He is part of the process. He opens your mouth and inspects your teeth. He runs a hand down your arm, feeling the muscle. He turns you around, his touch impersonal, practiced. You are a fine piece of livestock. You are from a region known for its skilled artisans. Your blue-eyed walls are famous. Perhaps you carry that skill in your fingers. You are young. You are valuable property. The quiet bidding begins again. You do not understand the words, only the tone. It is the same tone your father used when haggling for a good price on a shipment of olive oil. You hear your life being valued in measures of silver. Less than a fine chariot horse perhaps, but more than a cow. A strange hysterical laugh bubbles in your throat and you swallow it down. It tastes like dust and despair. The final price is agreed upon. The scales are brought out. The silver is weighed. Another mark is made on the endless scroll. A new man approaches you. He is tall, with a stern face and lines of authority etched around his eyes. He is wearing the insignia of a high-ranking military officer. He says something to a guard in the rough palm fiber rope at your wrists. He is finally cut away. The officer turns and walks away, not looking back. He doesn't need to. He knows you will follow. You are his now. You have been sold. And as you step off the platform and fall into line behind him, you feel the true crushing weight of Egypt for the first time. It is not in the stone of its temples. It is in the silence of its scales. The officer who bought you walks with a long, confident stride, and you learn quickly to keep pace behind him. You are not walking through the grand avenues of Thebes now, but through a maze of narrower, quieter streets. The houses here are not temples, but they are still enormous by your standards, walled compounds of whitewashed mud brick, their gateways shaded by sycamore trees. He leads you to one of the largest. The wooden doors painted with hieroglyphs are opened from within by a doorkeeper who bows low as your new master passes. And then you are inside. The doors close behind you, a heavy final sound that shuts out the city and the sun. You are in a cool, dim courtyard. A small pool of water green with algae reflects the sky above. Papyrus plants grow in pots along the edge. The air smells of damp earth and baking bread. This is your new world. A woman emerges from a doorway on the far side of the courtyard. She is older, her face a map of stern lines, her simple white dress immaculately clean. She is Egyptian, but she is not the master's wife. There is an air of authority about her, but it is the authority of a servant who has earned her place. She is the chief housekeeper, the one who manages the complex machinery of this household. Your master speaks to her, his voice low and dismissive. He gestures at you without looking at you, as if indicating a newly delivered sack of grain. He says a few words and then he's gone, disappearing into the private quarters of the house. You are left alone with the housekeeper. Her eyes rake over you a slow appraising look that is far more personal and far more intimidating than the gaze of the men in the courtyard. She is not assessing your value in silver. She is assessing your place in her world, the delicate hierarchy of the household. She is looking for signs of defiance, of weakness, of trouble. She speaks to you. The words are sharp, guttural, meaningless. You stare back at her, your face a blank mask. You understand nothing. This, you realize, is a new kind of powerlessness. In your home, your words had weight. You could persuade, you could joke, you could comfort. Here your tongue is a useless muscle in your mouth. Her frustration is immediate. She clicks her tongue in annoyance. She grabs your arm, her grip surprisingly strong, and points to herself. "Nebit," she says, her voice hard. She points to you, an expectant look on her face. She is asking for your name. You open your mouth, and for a moment the name your mother gave you, the name that has been yours for 17 years, hangs on your lips. To speak it here would be an act of defiance. It would be a claim to a life that no longer exists. It would be a ghost, a whisper of a free woman in a place built for the unfree. You say your name. It comes out as a dry croak. The housekeeper Nebit shakes her head with a sneer. She says a short, harsh word. It sounds like a dog's bark. "Bket," she says, pointing at you with a sharp finger, and then again louder. "Bket. It is not a name. It is a label. It is a label. It is a generic term, a word used for 1,000 women like you. Historians will find this practice documented, a common way of systematically stripping away the identity of foreign captives. It was an act of administrative convenience and profound psychological warfare. Giving a slave a generic name was like branding livestock. It erased their past and defined their future by a single inescapable function. She says it a third time, "Bket," her voice leaving no room for argument. And in that moment, who sat on a sun-warmed stone wall, the daughter of a chief, the weaver of blue thread dyes. A new person is born, a person whose name is not a gift from her mother, but a command from her owner. A person named Bket. Nebit then leads you through another doorway into a smaller, darker room. It is a storeroom of some kind filled with clay jars of oil and wine. She hands you a simple rough spun linen, shifty uniform of the household servants. She points to your blue dress, the last tangible piece of your old life, and makes a gesture for you to remove it. You hesitate for a fraction of a second, and her hand flashes out not a slap but a sharp stinging flick against your cheek. It is a correction, not a punishment, the kind one gives to a disobedient animal. You pull the wool dress over your head. The fabric is soft and familiar against your skin for the last time. As you stand there stripped bare in the dim light of the storeroom, you feel the finality of it all. You are no longer just a captive. You are no longer just a number on a scroll. You have been given a new name and a new skin. The stripping of your identity is complete. You are now and forever Bket. Dressed in the coarse linen shift of a servant, you follow Nebit out of the storeroom and into the bustling heart of the household. The stern housekeeper is your shadow, her presence a constant silent pressure at your back. You are led through a series of courtyards and corridors, a disorienting journey into the anatomy of your gilded cage. The house is not just a building, it is a self-contained universe, a complex ecosystem of power, labor, and secret. The main structure is built around a large central courtyard open to the sky with a garden and a large pool. This is the public face of the home where the master would receive his guests. The columns supporting the portico are painted with vibrant scenes of hunting and fishing, images of an idealized life of leisure and abundance. But you are quickly led away from this bright open space into the warren of rooms that service it. You see the kitchens first. It is a scene of organized chaos. A long, low room blackened with soot, hazy with smoke from a dozen open fires. Naked children, their heads shaved except for a single side lock of youth, scurry underfoot fetching water and stoking flames. Women with sweaty Ned faces grind grain on heavy stone querns, a rhythmic back-breaking labor that never ceases. Others knead dough into the familiar round loaves you now recognize as Egyptian bread. The air is thick with the smells of roasting duck, garlic, onions, and the sweet, cloying scent of honey cakes. It is a factory for producing the master's comfort. You are led past a brewery where large ceramic vats hold a fermenting mash of barley. The yeasty smell is overpowering. This, you learn through gestures and observation, is a form of currency within the household. Workers from the highest scribe to the lowest field hand are often paid their rations in bread and beer. It is a system historians will later study in detail, a testament to the incredible organizational skills of the Egyptians. To you it is just another part of the machine that holds you captive. Then you see the weaving workshop. This at least is a familiar world. Several looms larger and more complex than the one you used at home are set up in a shaded courtyard. Women sit before them, their fingers flying, creating bolts of the fine, almost translucent linen Egypt is famous for. You watch them for a moment, a pang of something sharp and painful in your chest. You see the skill, the artistry. But there is no joy in it. Their faces are blank with concentration, their movements mechanical. This is not the quiet, creative work you knew. This is a production line. Your new home is not just a residence, it is the headquarters of a vast agricultural estate. Scribes sit cross-legged in a shaded office, their pilettes on their laps, making endless notations on papyrus scrolls. They are tracking crop yields, livestock counts, and the distribution of rations. They are the bookkeepers of this small kingdom, and your master, the military officer, is its king. His name is pain, be a fact you learn not because someone tells you, but because you see the symbols of his name painted on everything from the largest storage jars to the linen sacks of grain. It is a mark of ownership. Your own quarters are a world away from the master's airy painted rooms. Nebit leads you to a small windowless chamber at the very back of the compound, a space you will share with 3 other servant women. There are no beds, only reed mats rolled out on the packed earth floor. It is clean but stark. This is the boundary of your existence, the place you will begin and end your day. The other women watch you with a mixture of curiosity and weary indifference as you enter. They are from different lands. One has the dark skin of Nubia, another the pale features of a woman from the Aegean Islands. They are, you realize, just like you. They are previous shipments of human cargo, now integrated into the household machine. They do not welcome you. They do not threaten you. They simply make space for your reed mat, a silent acknowledgement that you are now part of their silent shared reality. The sisterhood of the dispossessed is not one of warmth but of quiet mutual understanding. You are all ghosts of other lives haunting the same cage. In the days that follow, language becomes a wall. The Egyptian tongue is a constant flowing river of sound around you, and you are a stone in its current and moving uncomrephantide. The household communicates in a shorthand of gestures, grunts, and the occasional sharp prod. You learn your duties through imitation and painful correction. Your first task is the water. Every morning before the sun has fully risen, you join a line of other women walking to the nearest canal. The large clay jar is heavy even when empty. You learn to balance it on your head, a skill that takes several clumsy neck-straining attempts to master. The full jar is a crushing weight. The walk back to the compound is a slow, agonizing balancing act. Spilling a single drop earns a sharp rebuke from Nebit. The water is for the household, cooking for washing for the master's ornamental garden. It is the lifeblood of the house, and you are one of the vessels that carries it. You learn the word for watermoo because you hear it repeated 100 times a day. You learn the word for jahanu. You learn the word for hurry, which sounds like a command to a dog. These are your first lessons. Your vocabulary is built from the simplest, most fundamental components of your servitude. It is a language of function, not a feeling. The fear comes from not understanding nuance. A sharp tone could be a simple instruction or a prelude to a beating. A laugh from a group of guards could be a harmless joke or a joke at your expense. Every interaction is a minefield of potential misinterpretation. Silence becomes your only defense. You make your face a blank slate, your eyes downcast, trying to become as small and unapproachable as possible. You learn to read not words but the subtle shifts in posture, the tightening of a jaw, the flicker of an eye. You are learning the language of power, which is spoken not with the tongue but with the body. One afternoon you are cleaning the floor of a corridor, your back aching from stooping when you hear raised voices from a nearby room. It is pain, be your master, and a woman. Her voice is high and melodic, but laced with a sharp metallic distance. She is the great wife, the Himepwerti, the official mistress of the house. She is beautiful, adorned in fine linen and a heavy wig threaded with gold. You cannot understand their argument, but you understand its music. His voice is a low rumbling thunder of dismissal. Hers is a series of sharp percussive strikes like hail on a roof. You press yourself against the wall, trying to melt into the plaster. To be noticed in this moment would be disastrous. A servant who overhears the master's private life is a dangerous liability. The door to the room is flung open and Painby storms out. He doesn't even see you. He is a tempest of pure unthinking rage. The great wife appears in the doorway, her face a mask of cold fury. Her eyes, dark and heavily painted, sweep the corridor and lock onto you. For a terrifying second you think her anger will find its target in you, the nearest, most convenient object. But instead her expression shifts. The fury recedes, replaced by something else, something you cannot read. She looks at you, the foreign girl, the new acquisition, and a slow, cruel smile plays on her lips. She says a single word to you. It is a word you have not heard before, but its meaning is communicated with perfect, chilling clarity in her tone. It is a word that drips with contempt, a label that separates you from her, that defines your purpose in this house. And in that moment you understand that Nebit is not the one you have to fear. The language of fear is not just spoken by the master. It is spoken by anyone who stands on a higher rung of the ladder, and there is no one on a lower rung than you. Historians will sometimes puzzle over the seemingly contradictory roles of women in ancient Egypt. They had rights, they could own property, they could inherit, and yet their world was still fiercely hierarchical. The power of a woman like the Great Wife was real, but it was contingent, derived from her husband and her sons. A foreign slave woman was not a threat to her legal status, but she was a threat to her place in the household's emotional landscape. And that was a threat she would not tolerate. You have just learned in a single silent glance that the most dangerous words are the ones you don't need to understand at all. The sun bleeds out of the sky and the oppressive heat of the day finally begins to recede, replaced by a cool, star-pricked darkness. But the end of the day's labor does not bring you peace. It brings a new kind of dread, a quiet, creeping anxiety that settles in your stomach like a cold stone. You eat your meager ration of bread and a thin onion stew in the servant's courtyard, a hurried, silent affair. Then Nebit finds you. She doesn't speak. She simply beckons with a single crooked finger. You follow her, your bare feet making no sound on the cool stone floors. She does not lead you back to your small shared room. She leads you toward the master's private quarters, the part of the house you have been implicitly taught to avoid, a wing of the compound, where the floors are polished and the air smells of expensive cedarwood, oil and incense. The corridors here are lit by small flickering oil lamps set in niches in the wall. They cast long dancing shadows that seem to writhe and twist like living things. Nebit stops before a heavy wooden door, pushes it open, and then nudges you inside with a firm hand on your back. She does not enter with you. The door closes and you hear the sound of a bolt sliding into place on the outside. The room is far grander than any you have ever been in. The walls are painted with scenes of gardens and birds. A large low bed with a carved wooden headrest dominates the space. A single tall lampstand holds a bowl of burning oil that fills the room with a soft golden light. And in the center of the room, seated on a low stool, is Painby. He is no longer the uniformed officer or the distant lord of the manor. He has shed the public layers of his identity. He is wearing a simple fine linen kilt. His wig is gone, revealing a shaved head. His jeweled collar is gone. He is just a man. But in this context, that is the most terrifying thing he could possibly be. He looks at you, his gaze slow and heavy. It is the same appraising look from the auction block, but stripped of all pretense of a transaction. The purchase is complete. Now he has come to inspect his property. You stand frozen just inside the door, your heart a frantic drum against your ribs. The silence in the room is a physical presence. It presses in on you, thick and suffocating. You are acutely aware of every small sound, the quiet hiss of the lamp, the impossibly loud sound of your own breathing. He says something. A word. Your name. Not the name your mother gave you, but the one Nebit did. BKET. The sound of it in his voice makes your skin crawl. It is a word of ownership, a reminder that you are here not by choice but because you were bought. You don't respond. Your vocabulary of servitude filled with words for water and jars has no place here. There are no instructions to follow, no tasks to perform. Your function in this room is different. And the not knowing, the waiting for what you know must come, is a unique form of torment. He rises from the stool and walks towards you. He is not a large man, but in this room he fills the entire world. He stops in front of you, so close you can smell the wine on his breath, and the expensive perfume oil on his skin. He reaches out a hand not to strike you but to touch the simple amulet of a minor god from your homeland that you have managed to keep hidden around your neck. His fingers are rough against your skin. He examines it with a detached curiosity, as if it were a strange insect. Then with a simple decisive tug he breaks the cord and lets it fall to the floor. It is the last link. The final thread to the person you were is severed. There is a disturbing paradox that future archaeologists will uncover. In the tombs of powerful Egyptian men, they will find beautiful, sometimes even tender depictions of their wives and families. They will read poems of love and affection. And in the same records they will find the cold bureaucratic lists of their foreign slave women listed among the cattle and the furniture. The culture was capable of holding both romantic love and brutal sexual exploitation in its heart at the same time without seeing any contradiction. The capacity for affection and the capacity for objectification lived side by side. You are on the wrong side of that divide. He lifts your chin with his finger, forcing you to meet his eyes. There is nothing there. No anger, no passion. Just the flat, calm certainty of a man who is about to take what he believes is his. The shadow of the master has fallen, and in this gilded silent room there is nowhere to run. You are returned to your small dark room in the grey liminal light before dawn. No one leads you back. The door to the master's quarters was simply unbolted and you were expected to find your own way. You move like a sleepwalker through the silent compound, a ghost haunting the edges of a world that is just beginning to stir. The cool flagstones beneath your feet feel distant, disconnected from your body. You are an object being returned to its proper shelf after use. The other women on their reed mats are already awake when you enter. They don't speak. They don't offer a word of comfort or a gesture of pity. They simply watch you as you collapse onto your own, at their eyes holding a deep, weary knowledge. It is not a cruel silence. It is the silence of shared experience, a quiet acknowledgement for which there are no words. They have all walked that same path from this room to the master's, and they know the landscape of the morning after. Their silence is a form of respect for a grief that must be borne alone. You have just been initiated into the deepest, most sorrowful secret of this household. The day's work begins as it always does. The call to fetch the water, the familiar ache as the heavy jar settles on your head. But everything is different now. The weight of the jar is no longer just a physical burden. It is a metaphor for the new invisible weight you carry inside you. The sun on your skin feels like a violation. The chatter of the other servants sounds like a language from another planet. You have been hollowed out and the world rushes in to fill the empty space with a harsh, meaningless noise. Later that morning you are on your hands and knees scrubbing the stone floor of the main portico. It is a mindless, repetitive task and you lose yourself in the circular motion of the reed brush, the scrape of bristles on stone. And then a scent cuts through the dusty air. It is not the familiar smell of bread or beer from the kitchens. It is a complex, heady fragrance of lilies and myrrh, an impossibly expensive perfume. You look up. The great wife is standing over you. She is a vision of effortless power. Her pleated linen dress is so fine it is almost transparent. A heavy, intricate wig dressed with golden tubes frames a face that is a perfect painted mask. Her eyes, outlined in bold lines of black coal, are fixed on you. She is on her way from her morning toilet. In her hand she holds a small carved ivory box, the kind used to hold precious cosmetics. This tiny object probably cost more than the silver that was paid for your life. She does not speak to you. She speaks over you, her voice calm and clear to Nebit, who has materialized at her side as if summoned by an unspoken command. You do not understand the words, but you understand the gesture. The great wife points at you with the ivory box, a small, dismissive flick of the wrist. Nebet's face remains impassive. She nods once, turns to you and barks a sharp command. She pulls you to your feet and leads you away from the polished floors of the main house back towards the smoke-blackened kitchens, and then further still to a small foul-smelling shed at the very edge of the compound. Inside are the heavy basalt grinding stones used not for the fine flour the master eats, but for the coarse, gritty grain fed to the oxen. This is your new job. It is the most physically demanding, least desirable work in the entire household. It is a punishment. It is a message. Historians and archaeologists spend their lives trying to reconstruct the complex social dynamics of an Egyptian household. The official art, the tomb paintings, shows a world of perfect harmony, the noble lord and his beautiful adoring wife surrounded by efficient happy servants. But scholars have long debated the reality behind this pristine facade. The few surviving personal letters, uncourt documents hint at a far more turbulent world of jealousies, rivalries and bitter power struggles. The great wife's position, while exalted, was never entirely secure. Her power depended on her husband's favor and on her ability to produce a male heir. A new young woman in the household, even a foreign slave, was a potential disruption to that delicate balance. The great wife's action is not simple cruelty. It is a calculated political move in the silent war of the household. She cannot strike at her husband, the source of her power. So she strikes at you. She is asserting her authority as the true mistress of the house. She is making it clear to you and to everyone else who watches that you are nothing. You are the dirt beneath her sandals, the coarse grain fit only for beasts. You have learned a bitter lesson. The master may own your body, but it is his wife who will control your life, and her rule will be absolute. The grinding shed becomes your world. From sunrise to sunset you are bound to the heavy stone, pushing, unpulling a smaller loaf-shaped stone across its surface to pulverize the tough, coarse barley. It is a brutal, mindless rhythm that consumes your days and numbs your thoughts. Your back aches, your hands are rubbed raw, and a fine gritty dust settles into your hair, your clothes, the very lines of your skin. You are becoming a creature of stone and dust. This demotion, this punishment, has also made you invisible in a new way. You are no longer in the main house, no longer a potential object of the great wife's attention or the master's passing whim. You are tucked away, relegated to the lowest rung of the household's ladder. In this isolation, something unexpected happens. A small crack of light appears in your suffocating darkness. Her name is Ishtar. At least that is the name she whispers to you, the name from her own land. To the Egyptians she is Marit, the beloved, a cruelly ironic name for a woman no one seems to love. She is from a land to the east, a place of two rivers, and was captured in a different campaign years before yours. She is assigned to the brewery, the stinking, steamy building next to your grinding shed. She begins to leave a small water skin for you, filled with cool, clean water, not the murky liquid from the servant's well. She does this without a word, a silent act of grace that feels monumental. Then one day she lingers. She watches you work, her face etched with a familiar, weary sympathy. She speaks not in Egyptian, but in a fractured, halting version of a common trade language, a tongue you recognize from the merchants who used to visit your father. It is a language of the marketplace, simple and direct, a blend of a dozen different dialects from across the world. For the first time in months you hear words you can almost understand. Hard work, she says, gesturing to the grinding stone. You nod, your throat tight with unshed tears. It is the first time anyone has acknowledged your suffering. Wife, she says, and she makes a gesture of a large wig and a haughty expression. She is a scorpion. You look at her startled. To speak ill of the great wife is a dangerous, almost unthinkable act. But Ishtar just shrugs, a gesture of profound, cynical fatalism. She has been here long enough to know the real laws of this place, and she has learned when they can be broken. That is how your friendship begins. In whispers and stolen moments between your grinding and her brewing. You share the wreckage of your old languages, piecing together a fragile bridge of communication. You learn that her father was a potter, that her city had walls of glazed blue brick. She learns that your people wove blue wool and grew olives. These are not just facts. They are tiny sacred relics of your lost selves, and you offer them to each other like prayers. This secret communication becomes your lifeline. It is an act of rebellion, so small, so quiet that no one would ever notice it. But it is rebellion nonetheless. Every whispered word in your own tongue, every shared memory of a world beyond these walls, is a tiny victory against the machine that is trying to grind you into dust just as you grind the barley. Historians often speak of the cosmopolitan nature of New Kingdom Egypt. They point to the imported pottery, the foreign luxury goods, the diplomatic correspondence with other great powers as evidence of a connected international age. But there was another hidden cosmopolitanism, the one that existed in the servants' quarters and the workshops of the great estates. Ye women and men from Nubia, Syria, Libya, the Aegean and Mesopotamia were thrown together. They were enemies in the Pharaoh's official narrative, the conquered peoples listed on temple walls. But in the shared reality of servitude, they were simply human beings. It is a part of the historical record that is almost impossible to trace, a story that leaves no monuments and writes no scrolls. It exists only in the spaces between the official records. One evening, Ishtar presses something into your hand. It is a small, crudely carved wooden figure no bigger than your thumb. It is a woman with wide hips and exaggerated features. "My mother's goddess," she whispers. "She helps with..." Ishtar gestures to her belly, then to the master's house. "She helps with children, the ones you want and the ones you don't." You clutch the small idol in your hand. Its rough wood is a comfort. It is a foreign god, a forbidden god in this land of Amun-Ra Osiris. But it is a god who understands a pain that the great gilded gods of Egypt could never know. In this shared secret faith, in the whispered words of a broken language, you are no longer just Bket, the servant girl. You are a woman with a friend. And that in this gilded cage is a kind of freedom. You hold the small for an idol in your palm, its wooden from a secret warmth against your skin. You hide it in a crack in the mud brick wall of your sleeping chamber, a tiny private shrine in a world that demands public worship of its own gods. Every morning before the call for water and every night after the last of the day's work is done, you touch the smooth-worn wood. You don't pray for escape. That is a fantasy too vast and painful to entertain. You pray for smaller things, for Ishtar's continued friendship, for the great wife's continued indifference, for the strength to push the grinding stone for one more day. You have learned to watch the Egyptians and their gods from a distance. Their religion is woven into the very fabric of their lives, as present and inescapable as the sun. In the center of the main courtyard of Pain B's estate there is a small shrine. It's a Lara room of sorts, a place for the household gods. Every morning Pain B or his great wife makes a small offering there, a piece of bread, a trickle of beer, a lotus of bread, a trickle of beer, a lotus flower from the pond. They bow their heads and murmur prayers to figures. You are slowly learning to identify the hawk-headed Horus, the jackal-headed Anubis, and the ever-present Amun-Ra, king of the gods whose grand temple dominates the entire city. Their gods are everywhere. Small protective amulets in the shape of an anchor and eye are worn by everyone from the master to the lowest stable hand. The walls are painted with them, the pottery is decorated with them. They are gods of power, of order, of the state. They are the divine shareholders in the great corporation of Egypt, and their temples are their headquarters. Your gods, the gods of your homeland, were spirits of the place of the spring, of the ancient olive tree, of the mountain peak. They were intimate and personal. These Egyptian gods feel like distant, powerful bureaucrat entities to be appeased and petitioned, not loved. You see the preparations for a festival. The entire household is swept up in a flurry of activity. The finest linens are washed, vast quantities of food are prepared, and floral colors are woven by the dozen. It is the beautiful feast of the valley, a time when the statue of the god Amun travels from his great temple at Karnak across the river to visit the mortuary temples of the dead pharaohs on the west bank. It is a holiday, a massive citywide celebration. For you it is simply more work. But from the rooftop where you are sent to help lay out drying linen, you see the procession. A golden boat, the user hat Amun carried on the shoulders of dozens of priests, glides through the streets. The air is thick with incense and the sound of chanting, of sea drums rattling and drums beating. The entire city seems to be drunk on a cocktail of religious fervor and officially sanctioned beer. They truly believe their god a living presence among them. This profound faith in their gods seems directly connected to their obsession with death. You learn that Pain B is already having his own tomb prepared on the West Bank, a house of eternity. He employs a team of artisans who are day by day carving and painting the story of his life onto its hidden walls, a perfect idealized version of his life, where the sun always shines, the harvests are always bountiful, and his servants are always smiling and obedient. The amount of wealth and effort poured into preparing for the next world, while so many suffer in this one, is a mystery you cannot fathom. Historians will debate for generations whether the common people of Egypt truly believed in the complex theology dictated by the state priests, or if their daily religion was a simpler, more practical affair of magic amulets and appeasing local spirits. The truth is likely a mixture of both. But for the state and for men like Pain B, the official gods served a vital purpose. They were the ultimate justification for the world as it was. The Pharaoh was the son of Ra. The empire was blessed by Amun. The social order was divinely ordained. Your enslavement was not a tragedy, it was a small, insignificant part of a cosmic plan. One night, clutching your small hidden idol, a desperate thought surfaces. You whisper a prayer, not to Ishtar's goddess but to one of your own, a forgotten name from your childhood. You ask for a sign, for some small indication that your gods can hear you across the vast empty desert that separates you from home. The silence that answers is profound. It is the silence of a god who is too far away, whose power does not extend to this land of alien deities. You're in the belly of the empire. You are not just geographically isolated. You are divinely alone. Your gods cannot hear you because their voices are drowned out by the roar of Amun-Ra. Your whispered prayers to the silent gods of your homeland go unanswered, but your body provides an answer of its own. It is a slow dawning horror, a truth that begins not in your mind, but in a deep cellular rebellion from within. First it is the morning sickness, a wave of nausea that leaves you weak and trembling as you stumble toward the canal for the day's water. Then it is the change, in the rhythm of your own blood, a missed cycle, that is a silent, terrifying alarm bell. You are pregnant. The knowledge does not bring a flicker of joy. It brings ice-cold terror. This child is not a product of love or even of choice. A living, growing brand of your servitude, a testament to the night you were locked in the master's room. It is a secret that your body will sooner or later betray to the entire world. And you know with a certainty that chills you to the bone that the one person who cannot be allowed to see this truth is the Great Wife. You find Ishtar by the brewery vats, the yeasty steam swirling around her like a fog. You don't need your fractured shared language to explain. A hand on your belly, a look of pure, unadulterated fear in your eyes is enough. She understands immediately. Her own face, usually so cynical and resigned, softens with a profound pity. She pulls you into the shadows between the vats, her presence a small solid shield against the world. She tells you in hushed tones that there are ways. The women have their own knowledge, secrets passed down from mother to daughter, from captive to captive. She speaks of a certain type of acacia seed ground with honey and dates into a bitter paste. It is a form of ancient medicine, a desperate measure whispered about in the darkest corners of the servants' quarters. This is one of those strange and comfortable facts of their world. While the state-sponsored priests wrote elaborate medical texts about complex surgeries and treatments, the women of the household kept a hidden library of folk remedies for the problems the official world preferred to ignore. Ishtar prepares the mixture for you. It is a sticky, dark concoction, and it smells of fermentation and desperation. You take it back to your sleeping mat, your hands trembling. You are about to make a choice that feels like a violence directed at your own body. But what choice is there? To carry this child is to invite the wrath of the Great Wife, to endanger not only yourself but the child as well. You hold the small clay bowl in your hands in the darkness of your room, and you hesitate. You feel a faint fluttering movement within you, a tiny insistent whisper of life. It is not a welcome feeling, and yet it is there. It is a part of you. In a world where you own nothing, not even your own body, this tiny secret life is the first thing that has been truly yours since you were captured. The thought is a paradox, a knot of pain and a strange fierce possessiveness. You pour the bitter mixture onto the dirt floor. You will not do it. A flicker of something, not hope, but a stubborn, illogical will to protect a life that is now bound to your own, has taken root. Months pass. You hide the growing swell of your belly beneath looser folds of your linen shift. Ishtar diverts larger rations of bread and beer to you, a quiet, treasonous act of nourishment. Your work at the grinding stone becomes a daily agony, but you endure it. The grinding shed is a blessing in disguise, its isolation your only shield. The day comes as you knew it would. The pains start in the middle of the night, sharp and insistent. You crawl from your sleeping mat and make your way to the grinding shed, the only private place you know. Ishtar is there as if she knew. She must have been watching you, waiting. The birth is a secret, hurried affair conducted in near darkness, the only lightest sliver of moon through a crack in the roof. There are no midwives, no clean linens, no prayers to the goddess of childbirth. There is only Ishtar's strong, steadying hand, her whispered words of encouragement, in a language that is a patchwork of your two broken tongues. The pain is a fire that consumes you, but through it all, Ishtar is your anchor. And then it is over. A sudden shocking lightness. A thin reedy cry cuts through the night. Ishtar cleans the child with a piece of her own worn linen shift and places him in your arms. Day boy. You look down at him. He is so small, so impossibly fragile. He has your eyes, the dark almond shape of your people. But his mouth, the curve of his lip, is the mouth of pain bee. He is a living map of your two worlds, a fusion of captor and captive. He is a half-Egyptian child. And his future, his very existence, is a dangerous, unanswered question. Historians still fiercely debate the exact legal standing of these children. They were not exactly slaves, but they were certainly not free citizens. Their fate rested entirely on the whim of their father. He could acknowledge them, granting them a protected if inferior status within the household. Or he could ignore them, leaving them to be raised as slaves indistinguishable from their mother. You look at this tiny helpless creature, his face a perfect blend of your captor and yourself. You have given birth not to a son, but to a living question mark, and you have no idea what the answer will be. The world shrinks to the size of the grinding shed, to the small warm weight of the child in your arms. Ishtar has gone melting back into the shadows of the compound before the first stirrings of the household. You are alone with him in the pre-dawn quiet, the air thick with the smell of stone dust and the faint milky scent of a newborn. You pull your rough linen shift around him, a fragile shield against a world that does not know he exists. You look at his face in the slivers of grey light. The eyes when he opens them are your eyes. They are the same dark, deep brown as your father's, as your brother's. And in looking at him, a door in your minded or you have kept bolted and barred for months creaks open. Memory is a strange and treacherous country. In the first weeks of your captivity, you visited it constantly, desperately. You would walk the streets of your town in your mind, name the families in every house, trace the patterns on your loom. But it was too painful. The contrast between the sun-drenched memory and the sun-scorched reality was a form of self-torture. So you stopped. You built a wall around that part of yourself, focusing only on the next step, the next jar of water, the next scoop of grain. To survive, you had to forget. But now this child, this tiny piece of your own flesh, has breached the wall. Looking at his eyes, you try to conjure your mother's face, and a cold fear grips you. You can remember the mole beside her lip, the way her hair curled at her temples. But the exact warmth of her smile, the precise way her eyes crinkled when she laughed, it's blurry. The image is fading like a fresco exposed to the sun and wind. You tried to sing a lullaby when she sang to you a simple song about a goat climbing a mountain. You remember the melody, a gentle rising and falling tune, but the words, some of them are missing. There are gaps in the verses, empty spaces where the familiar syllables should be. You hummed the tune to your son, your voice a hoarse whisper, but the forgetting is a physical pain, a new kind of loss you didn't know was possible. This is a struggle historians and archaeologists can only guess at. They study the grand literate cultures, the ones that carved their memories into stone and inked them onto papyrus. But what of the people without a written language? How did they fight the natural erosion of memory, the slow, inevitable fading of the past? Scholars debate whether oral tradition alone was enough to preserve a culture's identity when it was subsumed by a dominant literate power like Egypt. Your struggle in this dusty shed is the human face of that academic question. You are a library with no books and the pages are starting to go blank. You begin a desperate silent ritual. You whisper to the sleeping child. You tell him your real name. You tell him your father's name and your grandfather's. You describe the house with the stone wall, the scent of the olive groves after a rain. You tell him about the taste of goat's milk, cheese and the feel of soft undyed wool. You are not just talking to him, you are talking to yourself. You are reciting the litany, your lost life, trying to etch it into your own mind before it vanishes completely. During the day you find small anchors for your memories. The sight of a sycamore tree in the master's garden reminds you of the fig tree in your own courtyard. The blue glaze on a rich woman's necklace is a pale echo of the deep vibrant blue you once wove from wool. Each of these small connections is both a comfort and a torment. You make him a toy. It's a pathetic little thing, a scrap of linen stolen from the rag pile, knotted into the rush shape of a doll. You use a charred stick from the cook fire to draw two dots for eyes and a line for a mouth. Archaeologists in the far future will occasionally find simple toys like this in the ruins of workers' villages, small humble testaments to the fact that even in the shadow of the pyramids children played. For your son, this scrap of cloth, this is only inheritance from you, a silent story of a world he will never know. You whisper the stories to him in your own language, the one you now only share in fragments with Ishtar. It feels clumsy on your tongue, rusty from disuse. But it is the only true thing you have to give him. You are trying to plant a seed of another world inside him, a world that exists only in the fading landscape of your memory. You do not know if the seed will ever be allowed to grow, but as he sleeps in your arms, his small hand curled around your finger, you know you have to try. You have to fight for the ghosts, because if you let them die, then the girl who sat on a sun-warmed wall will be well and truly gone forever. The days in the grinding shed bleed one into the next, each defined by the same circular agonizing motion of the stone. Your son, whom you have secretly named after your brother, grows in the shadows. He is a quiet, watchful baby, as if he has absorbed your need for silence in the womb. Ishtar is your co-conspirator, a silent partner in this dangerous secret, smuggling food and clean water, standing guard with her presence. But you know this cannot last. He is beginning to make more noise, to need more space. He is a secret that is outgrowing its hiding place. And then the household is thrown into a state of controlled panic. A high-ranking vizier, a man even more powerful than Pain B, is coming to visit. This is not a casual social call. It is a political event, a moment for Pain B to display his wealth, taste, and efficiency. The entire estate is scrubbed, polished, and painted. The great wife is a storm of nervous energy, her command sharper than ever. The problem, as it filters down to the servants' quarters, is the decorative hangings for the main reception hall. A shipment of dyed wool from the north, from your part of the world, has arrived, damaged by water. The colors bled into a muddy, useless mess. There is no time to procure more. Pain B wants the hall to be decorated in the foreign style, a fashionable display of his cosmopolitan connections. He wants vibrant color, and he is none. Nebit, the housekeeper, is a thundercloud of suppressed rage. Her reputation is on the line. It is in this state of pure pragmatic desperation that she notices it. You are nursing your son in the brief moments of rest you are allowed, and you have him wrapped in a small piece of your old dress, the one you wore from your homeland. It has been washed 100 times, used as a rag, and yet the blue of the fabric is still deep, vibrant, and unfaded. It is a true impossible blue. Nebit stops. She looks from the faded, ruined wool in her hand to the scrap of fabric in yours. Her eyes, usually so dismissive, narrow with a new kind of attention. She doesn't ask. She commands. She points to the scrap, then to the useless pale wool. She takes your son from you, handing him to another servant girl with a curt instruction to keep him quiet, and pulls you from the grinding shed. For the first time in almost a year, you are led back into the main compound, into the weaver's workshop. The women there stop their work on the fine white linen and stare as you are brought in, covered in the fine grey dust of your punishment. Nebit shows you the raw, undyed wool. She points to a collection of clay pots and baskets containing roots, dried insects, and crushed minerals, the raw materials for the Egyptian palette of pigments. You shake your head. These are not the source of your blue. Your blue comes from a plant, from a process of fermentation and oxidation, that is a closely guarded secret of your people. It is a living color, not a dead one. You gesture to the garden, to the indigo plants that grow there for decoration. Nebit understands. For the next 2 days the grinding shed is forgotten. You are given a corner of the workshop. You crush the leaves, steep them in water, add the alkaline ash from the cook fires to start the fermentation. The other weavers watch you with suspicion and curiosity. You are performing a strange foreign magic. When the dye is ready, you dip the skein of raw wool into the greenish-yellow liquid. The other women murmur. It is the wrong color. But you know to wait. You pull the wool out, and as the air hits it, the magic happens. The colored epens transforms from a sickly yellow grand to a pale sky. The wool has drunk the color. It is part of its very fiber. You have forgotten what this felt like. This is not the mind-numbing scrape of stone on stone. This is creation. This is a part of your soul you thought had been amputated. Your hands stain that familiar beautiful blue are your own again. The result is a success. Pain B is pleased. The vizier is impressed. And your value in the household is recalculated. You are not praised. You are not thanked. But a change occurs. Nebit, with the same impersonal efficiency as before, reassigns you. You are taken from the grinding shed and given a loom in the weaver's workshop. Your new job is to work with the colored wools that the estate import. Historians debate how much the skills of foreign captives truly permeated Egyptian craft traditions. Did the thousands of captured artisans like you slowly introduce new techniques, new styles, new technologies into the conservative world of Egyptian workshops? Or were you simply a human machina used to replicate the ghost of your own culture for their benefit without ever changing the fundamental nature of their craft? You do not know the answer. You only know that you are no longer a creature of dust and stone. You are a weaver again. It is not freedom. It is not happiness. But it is a precarious foothold, a small new kind of value in this world that only measures worth. And with this new value, you have bought your son a little more safety. Your new life in the weaving workshop is a strange sort of purgatory. The work is familiar, a distant echo of the joy you once found in it, but it is not yours. You are not creating your own patterns, telling your own stories with the threads. You are reproducing designs from painted pottery or old frayed textiles dictated by Nebit. Your skill has not bought you freedom. It has bought you a more comfortable, more valuable form of servitude. But with this new role comes a fragile and spoken truce. Your son is no longer a secret hidden in the dust of the grinding shed. He is simply there. He plays at your feet while you work, a small, quiet shadow among the looms. No one acknowledges his existence officially. He is not given a name in the household records, nor is he given the single side lock of hair that marks an Egyptian child. He is simply the son of Bket, the foreign weaver, an unofficial appendage to a useful piece of property. The great wife must see him as she sweeps through the courtyards, but she does not deign to look. As long as you remain useful, it seems your child is beneath her notice. This is the precarious peace you have earned. Use it at your loom, the rhythmic clack of the shuttle, a new metronome for your days. You look out from the shaded portico of the workshop and see the endless and bleached landscape of the Nile Valley. But in your mind's eye you see a different world, a geography of death that obsesses your captors. From here you can just see the western cliffs across the river, a shimmering heat-hazed line against the sky. That is the West Bank, the land of the dead, the necropolis of Thebes. Every Egyptian of means, from the pharaoh down to a mid-level official like Pain B, directs their life surplus towards this single goal, the construction and furnishing of their tomb, their house of eternity. You hear the men in the household talk about it constantly. Pain B has been inspecting the work on his own tomb chapel. The painters have just finished the ceiling, a brilliant blue scattered with 1,000 golden stars. They are now working on the negative confession, a long list of sins the deceased must swear he has not committed in order to pass into the afterlife. I have not stolen. I have not made anyone weep. The words ring hollow in a house built on stolen lath. The most famous part of this vast city of the dead is a secluded sun-blasted Wadi Valley tucked away in the cliffs. The Egyptians call it Tuwais, the Hett Mot, the Great Field. The very existence of the place is meant to be a state secret, its entrance, guarded by a special corps of soldiers, the Medjay. Yet everyone knows about it. Secrets in a place like Thebes have a way of seeping out. The men who work there, the stonecutters, the plasters, the artists, live in their own dedicated village on the West Bank. They are skilled, well-paid artisans, but they are also prisoners of their own sacred craft, their movements carefully monitored. The irony is profound. The men who build the tombs are the very same men who know exactly where they are and what lies inside. It's a security system with a built-in flaw, a fact that will plague the pharaohs for centuries. Historians and archaeologists will spend lifetimes trying to understand the Egyptian obsession with the afterlife. Was it a symptom of a deep-seated fear of oblivion, a desperate attempt to impose order on the chaos of death? Or was it an expression of a profound optimism, a genuine belief that life was so good it was worth preserving for millions of years? From your vantage point set in it, a loom you did not design, it looks like something else entirely. It looks like the ultimate act of vanity. A desperate attempt to possess the future just as they possess the present. You watch as a funeral procession for some wealthy neighbor makes its way down to the river, a long wailing train of mourners. Professional mourners, women paid to tear their clothes and throw dust on their heads, lead the way. The mummy encased in its ornate coffin is dragged on a sled. Behind it, servants carry all the things the deceased will need in the next world: furniture, jars of food and wine, his favorite board games. You look down at your son who is trying to fit a wooden spool into his mouth. He owns nothing but the scrap of linen you gave him. You own nothing but the coarse dress on your back. The idea that you could take anything with you into the next world is a bitter joke. For people like you, there is only the endless work of this life. You are the fuel for their journey, the unnamed, unremembered figures who will be painted on their tomb walls, carrying their burdens for them forever, ever, ever, ever. You are part of the scenery for their eternal life with no afterlife of your own. The oppressive, predictable rhythm of the household is shattered one morning by a sound you have not heard before, a genuine, unrestrained scream from the direction of the master's quarters. It is not a cry of anger but of raw panic. A tremor of chaos runs through the compound. Servants stop their work, their faces etched with uncertainty. Whispers spread like wildfire carried on hushed, fearful breaths. The master Pain Bee has been struck down. It is not a wound from battle or an assassin's blade. It is a sickness. It came in the night, a sudden violent fever. The blessed physicians in Thebes are summoned men with arcane titles who arrive carrying chests filled with potions, poultices, and magical charms. They burn incense to drive away the evil spirits they believe are plaguing him. They recite incantations from ancient papier scrolls. The house fills with the pungent, cloying smell of their remedies and the drone of their magical spells. The great wife is a phantom of terror and grief, her painted face a mask of desperation. Her entire world hurst at as her wealth, her very identity is tied to the man who now lies helpless on his bed. Everyone's fate is hanging in the balance, suspended on the thread of Pain Bee's ragged breathing. For you, this is a new and terrifying kind of uncertainty. Your precarious safety, the unspoken arrangement that allows your son to exist in the shadow of your loom, is entirely dependent on Pain Bee's authority. He is the one who values your skill. He is the one whose silent acknowledgement of his son protects the boy from the great wife's wrath. If he dies, what happens to you? You watch the physicians, their faces grim. You hear them speak of a demon that has entered his body through the air, a common explanation for illnesses they could not understand. Historians will later try to diagnose these ancient maladies from the vague descriptions left in medical texts. Was it malaria? Typhoid? Some virulent strain of influenza? The labels of future science are meaningless. Here and now it is simply a malevolent, invisible force that is dismantling the center of your universe. One of the more bizarre treatments you witness involves a dream ritual. The priests create a clay model of the sickness, a monstrous little figurine, and perform a ceremony to trap the demon within it. Then they ceremoniously smash the figurine outside the gates of the house. It is a desperate theatrical act of magic against a foe they cannot see or fight. Days turn into a week. The household holds its breath. The usual sounds of life, the laughter of guards, the music from the master's evening meal are gone, replaced by a heavy, expectant silence. You continue your work at the loom, your hands moving automatically, but your mind is a churning sea of anxieties. You look at your son, who is now a toddler, taking his first clumsy steps, and a fierce protective terror seizes you. His existence is a fragile bubble and the world is full of sharp things. Then one evening Ishtar finds you. Her face is pale. The son, she whispers, her voice barely audible over the clatter of your loom. The first son. He is talking to the scribes. Pain Bee's a young man from his marriage to the great wife, has always been a distant, arrogant presence in the household. Now, with his father incapacitated, he is beginning to assert his authority. He is reviewing the estate's records, the lists of property, the inventories of livestock and servants. He is preparing to take control. You know what this means. You are on those lists. You are on those lists. You are a name, BK Eti, the Syrian weaver, next to a valuation in silver. Your son is not. He does not exist on paper. In the cold, bureaucratic world of inheritance, a thing that is not written down is a thing that does not exist. Or worse, it is a complication, a loose thread to be snipped. The young master will have no sentimental attachment, no flicker of paternal recognition to protect the boy. He will see only a foreign slave and her nameless, illegitimate child. A stain on his father's legacy. A problem to be tidied up. The sickness in the master's chamber has become a sickness in the entire household. The carefully constructed order is dissolving into a quiet, vicious struggle for power. And you, at the very bottom of this pyramid, are the most vulnerable. Your fate and the fate of your child is no longer in the hands of a single predictable master. It is in the hands of chaos itself. The fever breaks, not with the gentle receding of a tide, but like a storm that, having exhausted its fury, simply moves on, leaving wreckage in its wake. Pain B does not die, but the man who emerges from the sick room is a ghost of his former self. He has got his skin the color of old papyrus, and a permanent weakness has settled in his limbs. He walks with the aid of a cane, his once confident stride now a slow shuffling gait. The illness has burned away his physical authority, leaving behind a brittle, querulous old man. The household exhales a collective shuddering sigh of relief, but the atmosphere has changed forever. Power once held absolutely in Pain B's hands is now a fractured thing. His son, the heir, having tasted authority during his father's illness, is no longer content to wait in the wings. He is a constant circling presence, his influence growing daily as his father's wanes. The great wife, her fear of widowhood replaced by the fear of being marginalized, clings to her husband, her affection a desperate possessive performance. The house is now a place of quiet, bitter rivalries. You are a small, forgotten piece on this new chessboard. For a time your life returns to a semblance of normalcy. You work at your loom, your son plays at your feet, and the delicate unspoken truce seems to hold. But then the day you have always dreaded arrives, not with a scream but with the dry scratch of a scribe's reed pen on a papyrus scroll. Pain B, acutely aware of his own mortality, now has decided to put his affairs in perfect order. He is drafting a final definitive will, a document that will dictate the fate of every object on his estate after his death. The scribes are in a flurry of activity, drawing up new inventories, confirming ownership and assigning inheritances. You are called before one of these scribes. He is a dry, fussy man with ink-stained fingers who looks at you not as a person, but as an item on a list that needs to be correctly categorized. He asks Nebit a series of questions about you in that quick diction you still barely understand. Your place of origin, your skill, your approximate age. Then he looks down at your son who is clinging to your leg. And this, he asks, his tone one of mild annoyance, as if noticing a smudge on the page. Nebit says something, a short factual statement. The son of the master. The scribe's pen hovers over the scroll. This is the moment. The precipice. He looks from your son to you, then glances in the direction of Pain B's private chambers. He is a bureaucrat, a man who values order above all else. An unlisted, unaccompanied child is a source of disorder. But to officially acknowledge him is to create a different kind of problem, one that would certainly incur the wrath of the great wife and the heir. He makes a decision. It is not a decision born of compassion but of administrative convenience. He dips his pen in the ink, and next to your entry on the list he adds a small, almost invisible hieroglyph. It is the sign for offspring. He does not grant him any special status. He simply notes his existence, tethering him to you on the page just as he is tethered to you in life. He has made your son an official part of the property to be inherited along with his mother. This practice is something that will fascinate and frustrate Egyptologists for millennia. The legal status of slaves and their children was a complex and often contradictory affair. Some wills from this period show slaves being passed down through generations like furniture. Others show slaves being granted their freedom upon their master's death. There was no single universal law. It was all subject to the whims and wishes of the owner, formalized on a piece of brittle papyrus. You have just become a footnote in one of these documents. Later, the heir, Pain B's son, reviews the completed scroll. You see him from a distance, his finger tracing the lines of text. He pauses at your entry. His face is unreadable. He looks over at you and your son. You are a living testament to his father's infidelity, a small daily humiliation for his mother. But you are also a skilled artisan, a valuable asset. The scribe's neat, tidy solution has made it easy for him. You are a package deal. A weaver and her child. He taps the scroll, says a word to the scribe, and moves on. The decision is made. Upon Pain B's death you will not be sold. You will not be cast on to the next generation. You will be inherited. You have been spared the chaos of the unknown, only to be condemned to the certainty of continued servitude. Your son's future is now legally bound to your own. He will grow up a slave in the house his father owned, a servant to his own half-brother. Pain B lingers for 2 more years, a fading king ruling over a fractured court. When his death finally comes, it is a quiet, expected event. The house performs the elaborate rituals of mourning, the great wife's wails echoing through the courtyards, but underneath the performance, there is a sense of release, of a new order finally formally taking its place. The old master is mummified, his tomb is sealed, and his son becomes the new lord of the estate. The transition is seamless and brutal in its efficiency. The new master, whose name is Mary, is a different kind of ruler. Where Painby was a man of old authority, Mary is a man of cold calculation. He sees the household not as a legacy, but as a business. He begins a thorough and unsentimental review of all the estate's assets, both human and material. One morning a group of priests arrives at the house. They are not here for a festival or a funeral. They are here on business. They are the administrators of the great temple of Ammon at Karnak, the wealthiest and most powerful institution in all of Thebes. The temple is not just a place of worship, it is a vast economic empire. It owns enormous tracts of land, herds of cattle, fleets of ships, and thousands of slaves. It is in essence the largest corporation in Egypt. You and your son, along with a dozen other servants, are brought before them in the main courtyard. Mary is there along with his scribes. A transaction is taking place. Mary has made a pious and very public donation to the temple of Ammon-Ra. He is giving the god a gift of property to ensure the favor of the priests and to secure blessings for his father's soul in the afterlife. It's a clever move, one that will be debated by scholars studying the intricate relationship between the secular elite and the powerful priesthood. Was this an act of genuine faith or a shrewd political maneuver to curry favor and offload surplus or problematic servants? For Mary, it accomplishes several things at once. It demonstrates his piety, it earns him credit with the temple, and it neatly solves the problem of what to do with his father's for concubine and her illegitimate child. He is cleansing his house and getting divine credit for it. You are led away from the house of pain, be the only world you have known for years. You walk through the streets of Thebes once more, but this time you are not a trophy of war. You are a religious offering. Your son, now a small boy who can walk and talk, clutches your hand, his eyes wide with a mixture of fear and wonder at the bustling city. You arrive not at the grand public entrance of the Karnak temple, but at a side gate, a service entrance, that leads into the vast walled precincts behind the sacred spaces. This is a city within a city. An army of people lives and works, here all dedicated to the service of the god and his priesthood. You see workshops larger than any in Painby's house, bakeries producing thousands of loaves of bread for offerings, butchers, breweries, and vast weaving workshops producing the fine linen used for the priest's vestments and the temple's rituals. You are brought before a temple administrator, a priest whose title translates to over-servants of the god. He consults the paper a scribe has given him. He looks at you, then at your son. Your skill as a weaver of dyed wool has been noted. You are a valuable commodity. You are assigned to one of the temple's weaving workshops. Your new home is a small, cramped room in a long dormitory for the temple's female workers. It is less personal, more institutional than Painby's house, but it is also in a strange way safer. Here you are not under the thumb of a single volatile family. You are a tiny cog in a vast impersonal machine. Your life is governed by the rigid, predictable schedule of the temple rite. The sound of the priest's morning chant, not the crowing of a rooster, now marks the beginning of your day. Your son is absorbed into the legion of other temple children. He is put to work at simple tasks, weeding the sacred gardens, carrying water for the junior priests. He is now a Retjenu, a servant of the god. His identity is no longer tied to the ghost of his father, but to the eternal, all-powerful deity of the Egyptian state. You have been traded from one master to another, from a man to a god. In the eyes of the law, nothing has changed. You are still property. But as you sit at your new loom, the sounds of the temple all around you feel a subtle shift. You have been swallowed by the shadow of the temple, and in its vast impersonal darkness you are for the first time truly anonymous, and in that anonymity there is a strange hollow kind of peace. The temple is a world of stone and incense, of colossal columns that dwarf the sun and endless corridors that echo with the chants of priests. Your life is now governed by a divine, unyielding timetable. You wake to the sound of hymns, you work to the rhythm of ritual, you sleep when the last evening offering has been made. It is a life devoid of surprises, and in that predictability you find a strange, fragile peace. You are no longer the property of a man subject to his moods and whims. You are the property of a god, and the god is, if nothing else, consistent. Your son is growing. He is a child of the temple now. He knows the names of the Egyptian gods better than the forgotten names of your own. He can identify the sacred ibis birds that wander the temple gardens and knows which offerings are made at which shrines. He is becoming Egyptian before your very eyes, and a part of you mourns this while another more practical part knows it is his best chance for survival. In this new world, to be different is to be endangered. The weaving workshop is vast, employing dozens of women. At first you keep to yourself a silent figure at your loom, focusing on the vibrant blues and reds of your threads. The other women are a blur of faces, a hum of conversations, and a language that is still a clumsy guest on your tongue. But the temple in its vastness has brought together not just Egyptians, but an entire atlas of conquered peoples. One afternoon you are in a secluded courtyard behind the workshops, a place where herbs for the temple kitchens are grown and dried. It's a quiet, forgotten corner smelling of mint and coriander. And you hear it. A melody. It is not the stately formal music of the Egyptian priests. It is a simple haunting tune, a lullaby sung in a language you don't know, but whose sorrowful cadence you understand perfectly. You follow the sound and find a woman sitting on a low stone wall, her hands busy mending a linen tunic, but her voice lost in a memory of a distant land. She is Nubian, her dark skin marked with the fine raised scars of her own people. She sees you and her song falters, her eyes immediately guarded. You do not speak. You simply sit on the wall a short distance away. And then you begin to hum. It is the lullaby from your own childhood, the one about the goat on the mountain, the one whose words you can't fully remember. You hum the tune, a fragile broken melody. The Nubian woman looks at you and a flicker of understanding passes between you. She is humming a memory of her home. You are humming a memory of yours. You are both singing to the ghosts. This is how you discover the Garden of Forgotten Flowers. It is not a formal group, not a secret society. It is an informal and spoken community of foreign women scattered throughout the vast temple workforce who have found each other. They meet in the quiet moments in the overlooked corners of the god's great estate, in this herb garden, in the laundry yards by the sacred lake, in the shadowy storerooms. You meet a woman from the Aegean, captured from a seafaring people, who still tastes the salt of her lost ocean on her tongue. You meet a Libyan woman whose grandfather was a desert nomad. You meet a Hittite whose people were once the great rivals of Egypt, now reduced to a single weary woman mending priestly robes. Each of you is a living relic, or last fading echo of a world the Pharaoh's armies erased. You share what you have, a recipe for a type of flatbread adapted with Egyptian barley flour, the way to braid hair in a particular style, a story of a trickster god who is not Thoth, or a goddess of the harvest who is not Isis. It is a quiet, desperate, and beautiful act of cultural preservation. Historians will forever debate the extent of cultural assimilation within the Egyptian empire. Did communities like yours melt into the great Egyptian pot, their languages and customs vanishing within a single generation? Or did these secret gardens of cultural memory exist hidden from the official record, preserving the embers of their heritage in the face of overwhelming pressure to conform? You are living the answer to their question. The pressure to assimilate is immense, especially for your children. But in the shadows you fight a quiet, stubborn awkward action against oblivion. In this hidden community, you find something you thought you had lost forever, a reflection of yourself. You are no longer just Bikaiti the weaver. You are a woman from the land of the blue thread, and here with these other forgotten flowers, that identity, however faded, still has meaning. You bring your son to the herb garden. The Nubian woman teaches him a clapping game. The Aegean woman shows him how to tie a sailor's knot in a piece of twine. You teach him the name of your mountain, the one the goat in the lullaby climbs. It is a strange patched-together inheritance you are giving him, woven from the threads of a dozen lost worlds. But it is his. The years in the temple compound pass with the slow grinding certainty of stone eroding under the sun. The great festivals come and go, the Nile rises and falls, and the faces of the high priests change, but the rhythm of your life remains the same. The loom is your world, the shuttle is the moon, the warp and weft are the days and nights of your existence. Your son is no longer a child. He is a young man, tall and lean, his shoulders broadened by the years of temple labor. He has grown up in the shadow of the great god eminent. He is in every way that matters an Egyptian. He speaks their language without a trace of an accent. The stories you whispered to him in the herb garden are like half-remembered dreams to him, now faint and insubstantial compared to the stern and intense reality of his daily life. You see the distance growing between you, a silent, sorrowful chasm. You do not know how to cross. He is a good son. He is respectful. He brings you extra rations when he can, but he is a stranger who grew up in your arms. One evening you are walking back to your dormitory when you pass a workshop where stonemasons are polishing a large copper mirror for one of the shrines. You catch your reflection, and for a moment you do not recognize the woman who stares back at you. You are not old, not by the standards of a free woman who has lived a life of ease. But the years of captivity have etched themselves onto your face. There are fine lines around your eyes from squinting in the sun on that first long march south. There are deeper grooves around your mouth, carved by years of unshed tears and unspoken grief. Your hair, once thick and dark, is threaded with silver coarse as a worn-out rope. Your hands are the hands of a laborer, the knuckles swollen, the fingers permanently stained with the blues and reds of the dye pots. This is the face of a survivor, but it is not the face of the girl who once sat on a sun-warmed stone wall. That girl is a ghost, and this woman in the mirror is the tomb in which she is buried. This is a truth that history, with its focus on kings and battles, rarely has time to record. It is not just lives that is stolen by empires, but time itself. The years are consumed by labor, by fear, by the simple grinding effort of staying alive. There is no time for the gentle unfolding of a life, for the easy accumulation of memories and milestones that a free person takes for granted. Your youth was not spent, it was taken, and you are left with the accounting of that theft in the reflection of a polished copper sheet. Your son finds you there staring at your own image. He sees your expression, and a flicker of a forgotten emotion crosses his face, the simple and complicated concern of a child for his mother. "What is it?" he asks, his voice soft. You cannot explain. You cannot tell him about the girl with the unstained hands and the unlined face. He has never known her, so you just shake your head. "I am tired," you say. It is the simplest of truths and the most profound. You are tired in your bones, in your soul, a weariness that sleep cannot touch. He places a hand on your arm. His hand is large and strong, calloused from his work. "I know," he says. And in that moment the chasm between you seems a little smaller. He may be an Egyptian, but he is still your son. He has seen the weight you carry, even if he does not understand its origin. Archaeologists will one day unearth the skeletons of the workers who built the great monuments of Egypt. They will study their bones and find the evidence of a lifetime of hard labor, compressed vertebrae, worn-out joints, healed fractures. They will write papers on the bioarchaeology of stress, using science to quantify the physical cost of building an empire. But they can never measure the invisible weight, the one you see in your own eyes in the polished copper mirror. They can measure the wear on the bone, but not the wear on the spirit. You turn away from the mirror and walk back to your room with your son. You have seen the truth of what has been taken from you. But you have also been reminded of the one thing you have managed to build in this desolate landscape, a son who, despite everything, knows how to be kind. It is a small, fragile thing to show for a lifetime. But it is not nothing. Your son grows into a man, and the differences between you become a quiet and unreachable wall. He is a product of the temple, shaped by its rhythms and its certainties. You are a relic of another world, a ghost he treats with a kind, dutiful respect, but with whom he shares no common language of the soul. He has found a place for himself in the vast temple hierarchy, not as a priest but as a skilled artisan. He has a talent for stonework, a patient hand and a good eye, and he has been assigned to a team of craftsmen who maintain the sacred buildings. He is good at his work. He is reliable. He is for all intents and purposes a loyal Egyptian. One day he comes to you, his face lit with a quiet excitement that you have not seen in him for years. His work crew has been given a prestigious new assignment. They are to travel up the river to the great temple at Abu's symbol, a colossal monument carved from a mountainside in the heart of Nubia. They are to perform repairs on the massive statues of the Pharaoh Ramesses the Great. But more than that, they are to add a new inscription, a victory still, celebrating a recent military campaign. A campaign against a coalition of rebellious city-states in the north, in your homeland. He tells you this news with a simple and complicated pride. It is a great honor to be chosen for such a task. He will get to see the wonders of the southern land. He will be part of a great work that will last for eternity. He does not see the irony. He does not understand that he is going to carve the story of his mother's destruction into a mountain for the glory of his father's king. The world tilts beneath your feet. The quiet, fragile peace you have built for yourself within the temple walls shatters into 1,000 pieces. For years you have managed to keep the two parts of your life separate, the faded, painful memories of your past and the monotonous, predictable reality of your present. Now your son, the only thing that connects these two worlds, is about to fuse them together in the most brutal way imaginable. You want to scream. You want to grab him and tell him everything. Tell him that the rebellious chieftains the inscription will boast of defeating were his own ancestors. That the tribute of captives and goods it will celebrate was the theft of your entire world. That the glorious victory it proclaims was the day his mother's life ended and her servitude began. But you look at his face, at his earnest and rubbled eyes, and the words die in your throat. What would be the point? To tell him the truth would not change anything. It would not stop the inscription from being carved. It would not bring your family back from the dead. It would only destroy him. It would only destroy him. It would shatter the identity he has so carefully constructed, the only identity that allows him to survive in this world. It would force him to choose between his mother's ghost and his own life. To tell him the truth would be an act of selfishness, a way to ease your own pain by inflicting an unbearable wound on him. So you say nothing. You force a smile. You tell him that you are proud of him. You tell him to be careful on his journey. Each word is a small sharp stone in your mouth. This is a dilemma that the grand narratives of history never record. The official story, the one that gets carved in stone, is always a simple one of good versus evil, of order versus chaos, of us versus them. The Pharaoh is always victorious, the gods are always pleased, the enemy is always treacherous. There is no room in these inscriptions for the messy, complicated and heartbreaking truths of the people, whose lives are crushed beneath the chariot wheels of history. The existence of a man like your son, a man who is both the conqueror and the conquered, is a paradox that the official story cannot contain. So it is simply erased. You watch him pack his few belongings, his stone carving chisels, a spare linen kilt, a water skin. He is excited about the journey, about the work. He is a young man with a purpose, a loyal servant of the Pharaoh and the god. He is everything they have made him to be. He embraces you before he leaves. His arms are strong and sure. I will bring you back something, he says, a beautiful stone from the south. He does not understand that he is taking a piece of your story that he will unknowingly carve into the rock, transforming your personal tragedy into a public celebration. He is going to build a monument to your own Eros sewer. And all you can do is watch him go and be proud of the man he has become and weep for the man he will never know he could have been. Your son is gone for many months, a year, then longer. A profound and aching silence settles over your life. The garden of forgotten flowers, your small community of foreign women, has dwindled. Some have died. Others have been reassigned to different temple estates. The friendships that were once your lifeline have frayed with time and distance. You are an island now, your days measured only by the steady clack of your loom. You have found a strange hollow peace in the rhythmic work, a peace that comes not from contentment but from the exhaustion of all hope. You no longer fight the memories. You let them come. You sit at your loom and you walk the streets of your childhood. You sit with your father in the evenings. You weave with your mother in the afternoons. The past is more real to you now than the present. You are becoming a ghost in your own life, your spirit, already wandering the ruins of a home that no longer exists. You have developed a simple private ritual. Every evening you take a small smooth pebble from the courtyard and hold it in your hand. You whisper a name into it, your father's, your mother's, your brother's, your own true name. You are trying to give your memories a physical anchor, a small piece of this world to cling to. You have a small pile of these named stones hidden under your sleeping mat. It is a humble secret memorial, a tiny personal valley of the kings for a family that has no two. One day a new group of captives is brought into the temple compound. It is a common enough sight, a fresh delivery of human tribute from the latest campaign. But these are different. They are from the sea, of people with pale skin and strange, brightly colored clothing. They are led through the courtyards, their faces a mixture of terror and defiance. The priests and scribes process them with the usual bureaucratic efficiency. You watch them from your workshop and you feel nothing. No pity, no kinship. The part of you that could feel such things has been worn smooth by the years like a stone in the river. They are just another turn of the great grinding wheel of the empire. Your son returns. He is a man now, his face weathered by the southern sun, his hands harder and more callous than ever. He is full of stories about his journey, about the incredible scale of the temples in Nubia, about the strange customs of the people who live on the edge of the desert. He is proud of his work. He shows you a drawing he has made on a piece of limestone, a sketch of the inscription he helped to carve. You see the familiar heroic figures of the Pharaoh in his chariot, the lines of bound captives, the piles of tribute. You look at it and you feel a distant cold ache. He has brought you the gift he promised. It is a stone, just as he said. But it is not a rough pebble from the south. It is a small, perfectly carved amulet in the shape of a scarab beetle, the Egyptian symbol of rebirth and resurrection. He has made it himself, his skill evident in every smooth curve and delicate line. He presses it into your hand. For you, he says, so the gods will protect you, so you will have a good life in the next world. You look at the scarab in your palm. It is a symbol of everything that has been taken from you, a promise of an eternal life you have no reason to believe in, offered by a son who does not know the true story of the life you have lost, and yet it is also a gift of love, a simple, profound gesture from a son to his mother. He is trying in the only language he knows to offer you comfort, to give you a piece of the certainty that anchors his own life. He is giving you a piece of his world, of his faith. You close your hand around the stone scarab. It is cool and smooth against your skin. For years you have been whispering the names of your dead into rough uncarven stones. You have been looking backward, trying to hold on to a world that is gone. Your son, in his innocent, unknowing way, is asking you to look forward. He is asking you to accept his world, to find a place in his future. A strange kind of peace settles over you. It is not forgiveness. It is a quiet, weary acceptance of the world as it is, not as it should have been. You will never be free. You will never go home. But you are not entirely alone. You smile at your son, a real smile, perhaps the first in many years. It is beautiful, you say. Thank you. You add the scarab to the pile of name stones under your mat. It does not belong there, and yet it does. It is the final stone, the one that marks not a memory of the past, but a fragile truce with the present. It is the story of your son, the story of your survival, the story of your survival, the story of a strange, resilient, heart-breaking kind of peace. The final chapter of your life is a quiet one, written in the spaces between the clatter of the loom. Your son marries a quiet, kind Egyptian woman, a baker's daughter, who also works within the temple precincts. You watch them from a distance, a benevolent ghost at the edge of their lives. They have a child, a daughter, at the edge of their lives. They have a child, a daughter. You are old now. The work of the loom has been passed to younger, stronger hands. You are given simpler tasks, mending torn linens, sorting threads, your presence in the workshop more a matter of custom than of utility. You spend your days sitting in the sun of the herb garden, the place where you once found a secret sisterhood. Now it is just a quiet place to sit, the air still smelling of mint and memory. Your granddaughter comes to visit you there. She brings you a piece of bread sweetened with honey, her small hand pressing the treat into your own, which is now gnarled and frail. She climbs into your lap, a warm, trusting weight. She does not know your story. To her you are just Mayat grandmother, a figure of quiet affection, a safe harbor. She chatters to you in her perfect fluid Egyptian about her day, about a game she played, about a song she learned. You listen and you nod and you smile. The language that was once a wall of fear is now the sound of your granddaughter's laughter. One afternoon she finds your hidden collection of stones under your sleeping mat. She brings them out into the sunlight, her small fingers turning them over her face, a mask of childish curiosity. She picks up the smooth carved scarab. "This one is pretty," she says. Then she picks up one of the rough, unadorned pebbles. "This one is just a rock." She asks you what they are for. You look at her bright, innocent face, a face that is a perfect blend of your blood and the blood of your captors. She is the final page of your story, the one you never expected to be written. She is a free Egyptian. Her future will not be one of servitude. She will learn to read and write. She will marry a man of her choosing. She will live a life you can barely imagine. Your captivity, your pain, your long journey through the darkness has ended here with this small free child sitting in the sun. How do you tell her the story of the stones? How do you explain that the pretty one is a symbol of a faith that is not yours, a gift from a son who never knew you, and that the just a rock is a tombstone, a memorial for a king, a queen, and a prince from all, and she has never heard of. You don't. The stories are too heavy. Her shoulders are too small. You take the rough pebble from her hand. This one, you say, your voice a dry whisper, is from a mountain very far away. They go climbed it once. She looks at you, her head tilted, not understanding but accepting. You begin to hum. It is the melody you have hummed 1,000 times, the lullaby of the mountain goat. But this time something shifts. The gaps in the verses, the empty spaces that have haunted you for decades, begin to fill. The words come back to you, dredged up from the deepest well of your memory. You sing the song, the whole song, in your own long silent tongue. Your voice is thin and reedy, but the words are clear. Your granddaughter does not understand the language, but she understands the music. She leans her head against your chest and listens, her eyes growing heavy. This is how your story ends. Not in a great battle or a dramatic escape or a final bitter confrontation. It ends on a quiet afternoon in a temple garden with a song. You are not a queen anymore. You are not even Bket the servant. You are just a grandmother singing a forgotten lullaby to a child who is the future. Your name, the one your mother gave you, will never be carved in stone. It will never be written on a papyrus scroll. It will be lost to the sand, one of countless millions of stories, swallowed by the great indifferent silence of history. But in this one moment, as your granddaughter drifts to sleep in your arms, you have passed on a single luminous thread of your lost world. It is not an inheritance of power or of wealth. It is just a melody. But it is enough, and so the shuttle of the loom finally comes to rest. The last thread is woven and the story lies, complete, a finished cloth in the quiet of the night. The sound of the song fades, leaving behind only the soft hum of the darkness around you, a gentle, peaceful silence. You can feel the weight of that long journey begin to lift from your shoulders, a weight you did not even realize you were carrying as you float in this calm space between the story's end and the beginning of your own deep rest. There are no more stones to carry, no more memories to fight for, only the feeling of support beneath you, the gentle rise and fall of your own quiet breath. You are safe now in the peaceful harbor of your own room, letting the last echoes of that ancient world dissolve, like mist in the morning sun, leaving behind only a profound sense of stillness and a gentle welcome heaviness in your limbs, a heaviness that pulls you softly downward into the deep soft velvet of sleep. Our journey together tonight ends here in this quiet place. Should you need another tale to accompany you further into rest, my library of stories is always open for you. May your dreams be kind. Good night.